start.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Did you hit your knee on there?
Huh? Yeah, it is. Oh.
Alright.
All right. Hello and welcome to Raising Digital Citizens 4 out of 5, where we try to have some talks about parenting in a digital world. A world where, well, that probably wasn't built for children in mind completely. I'm Soren and I have with me Jessica, my wife and life partner, and probably the one that has taught me the most about parenting. So yeah, what are we going to do here, Jess?
We are going to answer some questions, common questions from parents, and try to enlighten you on a different approach to screens and how we view the digital world.
Enlighten, that was you set the bar up there, huh?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, now you can only be disappointed, I guess. But we have some questions, and can I take the first one?
Please do.
All right. It says here, so actually, it says, what was the idea behind Raising Digital Citizens that you co-founded? How did that idea come about?
Well, that came about because our daughter Sophia was about to get a phone.
Mm-hmm.
She was the last person in her class to get a phone, and we did not want to give her a phone, which is probably a common feeling most parents are having nowadays. But we also felt that it was something we couldn't put off anymore. So because of what I do, I started doing a lot of research and to try to figure out what was the best way to deal with this. And we have a bit of a different parenting approach. I came from a very strict background, so for me, banning, preventing, controlling is very natural for me. Whereas being Danish, he's a very different approach, and which I have sort of adopted over the years. And so doing the research, I discovered that the most effective protection long-term is really to have conversations with your child, to create a relationship. And while this sounded amazing, and all the experts say, have a conversation, talk to your child about their online world, this is across the board. Not having grown up with this, it's kind of like, well, how do we talk about it? Where do we start? We don't really have the information. So I researched the digital citizenship approach in lovely Denmark.
And can I just interject here that
Yes, please.
Our daughter was probably not so keen on the year and a half that it took you to come up with the first sort of questions that she could answer, so she could graduate to get her phone, was she?
No, she wasn't.
No.
However, when we told her, so what came about was we created our own sort of program that covered all of the topics of what it is to sort of be a good person, not just in the real world, but also online. And a bit like we prepare for a driver's license, we wouldn't just hand over a screen without, it's very similar, I think.
We wouldn't hand over keys to a child,
wouldn't hand over keys,
right? At least I hope you guys out there don't do that. But and it should be the same in the...
Yeah, I think so.
Digital,
I think so. I think it's just, it offers just as many sort of dangers and opportunities as learning to drive. So
you come back and you try it on our daughter, and what happened?
Well, first of all, I told her that we were going to do these conversation cards, this kit, this program, and once we had done that, then she could get a phone. And maybe not surprisingly, she was
pretty keen.
She was pretty keen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was ready. She was very, very interested. And yeah, I mean, I found that it was just incredibly connecting, enlightening, empowering. Mm-hmm. I think we both felt very good about giving her a phone. Yeah. After like 3 weeks it took to go through the cards.
We probably took it a little bit further than what we recommend now. What do you say? I mean, now what we're seeing when parents go through the kit is that they often, some do just a couple of cards, a handful of cards, some do it in the car. Some have even skipped entire sections. That's fine. It's all good. But we really went to the length of doing all of it, and I think it took more than 3 weeks, didn't it?
It took more than 3 weeks with our son.
Yeah.
It took 3 weeks with our daughter, and then and actually one of the reasons why we developed this further was because we did this with our daughter. We made an agreement together about phone use, about sort of rules that she was very much a part of making. And then as our son started to get older, he was younger than her. He was on an iPad. He didn't have a phone or anything. But our daughter came to me and she said, "Mommy, I think Sebastian really needs to do the cards." And so that was the first sign that I was like, okay, this is something really useful. I mean, it was very useful for us. It was very useful for us as parents to have a tool to talk about all these things that we didn't grow up with. But then as my son got closer, our son.
Thank you.
As our son got older and closer to that age, he was also asking a lot, when are we going to do the cards? When are we going to do the cards? So he really was keen to do the program. And I think it was after we did this that we realized also the need that there is for parents, this sort of missing piece, I feel, to connect with their kids, to create a relationship rather than just, which would have been my approach, naturally, to be dominant and authoritarian and controlling. And not that we don't think that there should be legislation.
No, but before I can see, I have another question here before you turn this into a 6-hour monologue. I have a question here which I think you can also answer. Mm-hmm. It says, why isn't it just the school's responsibility to educate children? I mean, parents have enough on their plate, some people pay, other people, it's part of their tax system, but schools have a responsibility. Why shouldn't they just teach, the kids everything there is to know about parenting and digital space? He's fine.
So this is actually one of the things that I thought about a lot when making the cards, because the school, he had something to say about it as well. The school where our daughter was at the time, I knew that they were doing some sort of training. Most schools are doing something, but the reality is every family has different values. And the school is not going to teach our kids our personal family values. And I think so many parents, we outsource this very important training to the schools. And one of the things we miss is just literally like that our kids know that, what is right and wrong in our home? What can I do if something goes wrong? So many things that we think they know, we've discovered through hundreds of parents, they don't know. So I think, it's great that the schools are doing what they can, but it's so important that we solidify our values at home. And the schools are extremely thankful for this as well, because I think they would like some help.
Yeah, but the schools are also very different. I mean, we hear from parents, some that have very good programs in, and some that seems to be living in another century. Mm-hmm. Now we have a lot of schools that have gone all in with the tech. There couldn't be enough screens, to now saying, well, we gotta step it back, rightfully so in many cases. But schools are different, and I don't think we can give any advice that it's just, well, let's just hand it over to the schools. Yeah. We have to take a lot of responsibility as parents, and as Jess says, make sure that we know what's going on, and that we make sure that there is that very important connection between child and parent. So can we do another one?
Yes, sure.
Do you want to do one?
All right. So why is it so important that families talk?
Well, I had kind of hoped you had answered that. You're the expert in this field. I mean, I sometimes feel we talk too much. But no, why is it important families talk?
Isn't it just easier to just ban it? Isn't it just, couldn't we just say, don't have like some of our friends, just don't let them have it, just take it off, just read all their emails, take their passwords. Why don't we do it that way?
It's probably a lot easier. I mean, it's a lot, if you take from a legislative point of view. It would be wonderful if there were certain apps that were banned. It would be wonderful, or that age limits were imposed. I would still feel a little bit uncertain if my child is at a sleepover and I have said you can't be on the screen, you can't be, because there is an entryway that way. I think that there is a time where we have to let our kids just fly, and whether that's at 18 or 35, as it is for some Italians, I think that time comes and we have to prepare for that. So if we are of a nature that says, don't do this, don't do that, without letting them in on it, I think we are just postponing a problem till later. So in the case that children understand, you're not going to talk to a toddler, but when they are old enough to understand some of these concepts, I think it's good that they know what is an algorithm, what is the danger, why are we as parents nervous for certain things out there. I think they are many times much smarter than we think they are, and an age-appropriate talk will make you probably feel a lot better about what they know and what they don't know. So
yeah. And I think especially in this world, it becomes particularly important, which is very difficult for many parents. Difficult pill to swallow that have been more kind of dominant, and we think sometimes that we're the parent, we know best, we know everything, but I think particularly in this world, this is when we have to have some humility and know that we don't know, we'll never know as much as our kids know in some ways about this world, and that's totally okay. We know a lot of things about just what it means to be a good, careful, safe person, which also transfers over into this world. So it's an amazing opportunity. I think it's a kind of a rite of passage now to get a phone or to get more digital independence. And if you see it that way, kind of like getting a driver's license, you can also really leverage this in terms of saying, hey, teach me what you know, and they'll be much more open to listening to us to learn about what we know, which is hugely important.
Yeah. Actually, which, if you don't mind, because I can see there is a question here about, in doing research, because we have done a lot of research with parents in terms of, the effects of the cards and in conversations in general, and we looked at research. And I think one of here is what has surprised us the most. And I think what has surprised me the most, I don't know if it's the same with you, was how happy the children were that parents had these talks. And here the key is, if it's a lecture, they won't be very happy. If it's, listen, I'm the parent, I'm now going to tell you all the things I know, because we don't know that much in this. But rather come at it with a little bit more curiosity. That's probably the trick here, but the amount of children that we have said, to our surprise, oh, we love doing this. Even the parents were very surprised. And I think that's because they feel, as it is, if you don't have these talks, that there's a big divide. That we parents, we don't know anything, we don't know what the skin is, we don't know what this special character can do and why it's so important. We simply don't know.
And I think the danger in that I've seen time and time again with the kids who talk about this, is that they just feel like, I could never go to my parents, because they just don't understand anything. And because typically we're coming at it, rightly so, because we're inundated with fear, we're inundated with negativity about technology, which actually historically, if you look back at many, many things, television, radio, writing, we've had a similar trajectory. It's not to say that this doesn't have a lot of dangers, it does. But at the same time, when we're only coming at our kids with what we're inundated with, that's how they feel. There is a big divide. And one thing we say always to parents is, if you consider one of the most dangerous things for kids, we can't say this enough, is if they're left alone and something bad happens. I mean, this is when, sorry, but like suicide happens and really heavy bullying happens, is when they're afraid to go and tell an adult. And so this is also what this process is about, is helping bridge that divide, helping create a relationship, utilizing this rite of passage so that you you become more connected with your child as they get older, and
I can say actually, and now I will answer the last of these questions. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But I can see, unless you want to, but this question starts by saying, as a dad.
yes. Oh, okay. That's for you then.
So as a dad, I guess it's for me. It says, do you have a quick parenting tip for dealing with a son who games a lot? Surprise, surprise, I do have a tip. And it's one that comes from my own world, because we have a son.
Oh, thank you.
And he has started to game, not a lot, but he games. And I have never been a gamer in my life, and I probably looked down upon it as a chess player and backgammon enthusiast and what have you. I've looked down on this gaming a bit.
Yeah, very much so, I would
Yeah.
say.
And
A lot of judgment.
therefore I've not wanted to understand it. So one of the things that I learned going through all this was you don't have to really know a lot. You just have to just ask a couple of questions. And I've done this consistently for 3 years now. Just every now and again, sit down, 10 minutes, ask a couple of questions. What does that one do? And how do you move that bit? And I this is Roblox that now, and it's fascinating. I don't understand what really is going on, but I've learned something, and the enthusiasm isn't there. But I'm curious enough that we can have a talk about it. And he often comes to me to show me something, which is the sign
That's
that
the big
we have
change.
connection.
Yeah. He comes a lot more often to talk about it. He feels so much more open to talk about it. And
So the tip is, if you have a son or a daughter who games, it's probably more wide, but show some interest into their world without being an expert. Just ask some questions. What's going on in this game? Why are you playing? Why is it so interesting? Without the judgment. That you'll see, but that's all it takes to come together a little bit.
And I think that's actually across the board. I mean, that is for gaming, that is for apps, that is for anything. Even if, let's say, they don't get it, if they're around certain things and it's in their world, rather than being dismissive or judgmental or looking down on it, get curious and show interest, I would say.
And this probably is a good note to end our little episode here. We want to just have these talks, be curious. Hopefully you're curious. We don't have all the answers. You don't need all the answers, but we just need the right conversations. So with that, thanks for listening in, and hope to see you around another time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.